Hello and welcome to ChinnyVision. This time we're going on a train ride with a man from the internet. So I haven't done a train game on ChinnyVision before. In fact, there's not that many train games for 8-bit computers, or even 16-bits I suppose. Everything's train sim these days. Ooh. So I thought what we'd do is link up with Mr PSB, who does a sweary train sim, but he's not going to be sweary tonight, thing live on...
very well behaved.
Live on YouTube every Saturday night. And here he is. So hello to Mr PSB, who's watching this over Skype.
Every Saturday night is probably an exaggeration at the moment. It's just whenever I do it. So just look for it on Twitter and it may or may not happen.
So we've got Southern Belle. We've been talking about this for a year, so we're going to do it. Let's do a training run. And I've got to remember the control. I do have the controls up on the right-hand side. Unfortunately, I've managed to obscure them, and this is a very complicated setup. So we're driving a train from Victoria to Brighton in the 1930s, I think. We'll go for training run because it's easy. And playing this on the BBC Micro, there are different versions of this game. I chose the BBC Micro because basically it just seemed the fastest and possibly the best. So we don't do blower and whistle. We're going to go regulator, cut off and brake, which is about our limit as beginners. And we have to keep this schedule. We don't have to stop. And it's going to take an hour to do this. We're going to edit this. So press return to start. The BBC Micro sounds are going to come through the microphone. Usually I'd record it direct, but this is too complicated. So we've got some BBC Micro noises there. All aboard. Are we allowed to go now?
Was that meant to be a whistle?
I think it was. So
well, the signal's off, so...
Let's put the cut off to full.
Yep.
The regulator to half. Because they say if you do it too much... Oh, good. I've got the spectrum instructions here. And it's symbol shift to you press R for regulator and then symbol shift R to come back.
Awesome.
I don't have the brake on, do I? I'm not doing something stupid like leave the brake on.
No, you want brake off, cut off full forward and regulator gently at first and then full beans. I don't know if it simulates wheel slip. It doesn't say anything about it in the manual, so you might just be able to whack it on full and get away with it. Or we might just not move.
Yeah, this is the problem I had when I was testing it last night.
This is a problem I had when I came across it at the, what was it called? Play Expo, whatever it's called in Blackpool. It was like... There are all these controls with all the letters next to them. I know what the controls are meant to do, but I'm pressing buttons and the train isn't moving.
Let's try gentle. Right. My vacuum brake is definitely off. Oh, are we moving? We're moving.
We are moving.
Right, okay, so they're apparently having the cut off on full and the regulator not on half. Read some tips how to play it. Apparently that's wrong. So anyway, okay. We are moving. So now I can probably whack the regulator up to full. The regulator's that little lever at the top there. So Mr PSB, tell us a little bit about this line that we're doing.
This line?
Well, this train line, really.
Don't really know anything about it. It's the London to Brighton main line. I don't have the rest of my reference material, so that's all I really know. It goes between London, Victoria and Brighton. I can tell you that much.
Okay, well, the game's doing the fire for us. They're kind of stoking... Because on a train, same train, you'd have a fireman and a driver. And this game expects you to do both, really, but we're not. We've told the computer it's going to do the fireman bits and a little bit of the driver bits with the whistle and stuff. And then we're going to do the... I'm going to do it under your instructions what to do. But... At the moment...
Drive the train forwards. That's my instructions.
My regulator is on full. Oh, I pressed a button. I pressed the T button. That's the timetable. We need to get to Balham in 9 minutes. And we've actually got some scenery. Because one review of described the game's scenery as being a bit like a nuclear wasteland. But we do have Battersea Power Station on the left.
Yep.
That's quite well rendered. The frame rate on this BBC version, I was trying the specky version last night and I cut in some footage of that. I think it's slightly better. Not saying much.
It's difficult to see the difference unless you've got a very trained eye.
I'm going to put the regulator on full. So we're coming up to a hill now, and that kind of thing. We need to get a bit more power in. I'm going to press the timetable button, see where we are. Oh no, we're still on. Okay, so not even 9 minutes have passed yet. We're 2.5.
Oh, there we go. There's Clapham Junction.
Oh, that's not too bad. I mean, it's obvious. This for the 1930s is probably what it looked like. Vector graphics, two colour.
What more do you need?
There we go.
And it's going to curve away to the left.
Yeah, one of the criticisms of this game they fixed with Evening Star, the subsequent game, was there weren't enough curves. Although, as someone else pointed out, it does actually follow the line, and the Bath to Bournemouth line, featuring the Evening Star, actually does have more curves in it. So perhaps it wasn't intentionally kind of fixed. It was just they're trying to replicate.
That's why it was never a sort of fast passenger express line, because it's very twisty. Whereas the Brighton main line was a lot straighter, and therefore trains could hammer their way down it a lot faster.
And do you have this game on trains? I mean, have you done this run with a modern train?
I've done it with a modern train, and I had a crack at it with this class of train the other day in preparation for here, just to see how it runs on Train Simulator. So I may well cover a comparative run on Swery Train Simulator 1 week, just to compare with this video once it's due.
Most people, I think, got this game because it was given away free with your Sinclair and Amstrad Action because of a deal Houston did with Future Publishing. So we all got it on our cover tapes, and therefore we played it. It's not a game we would have gone out and bought, but suddenly everyone kind of was playing Southern Belle, Evening Star on their Spectrums and Amstrads because they got it for free.
It did well enough to get a sequel, though, didn't it?
Yeah, although, I mean, it's kind of...
it was through the giveaway or through sales.
I think this game's 1985 and follow-up was 1987, but of course it's just a reskin. So all they had to do was redo the line and go, there you go, there's a new game.
Yeah.
Right, so this is
different
Balham.
class of locomotive technically as well. But I don't know if they actually went to that amount of effort to slightly change the layout of the steam loco.
I don't think they did. Right, this is Balham, which is our 9 minute. We're slightly behind because that problem's starting. And now I've got vague memories of playing this on Spectrum when I got it on cover tape. I've got two memories. One taking forever to get the train to take off, start. And then the other one was, I think it was Dirty Harry was on BBC One that night. Oh no, it was Every Which Way But Loose with the orangutan. That was it.
Okay.
It was that was on TV.
It's the same thing as Dirty Harry, essentially, just with an orangutan.
Yeah.
But you need to pull back the cut-off a bit.
Right.
Your cut-off controls how much steam goes into the cylinders at the front of the locomotives. The further forward it is, the more of the cycle it's sort of pushing steam into the cylinder. But when you get up to a certain speed, it's trying to push steam into the cylinder against the motion of the cylinder. So you have to sort of synchronise between the amount of steam that's going in there and the sort of speed the train's going. So the faster you go, the less cut-off you need. So if you wind the cut-off back, it should, in theory, begin to pick up speed. I don't know what sort of a gradient you're on as well. I think you're going uphill, which never helps.
I'm going uphill there.
Locomotives don't like gradients.
I must explain, Mr. PSB.
Probably pick up speed in a minute.
I must explain, Mr. PSB is watching this over Skype with a phone propped up on my microphone stand. And anyone who's been looking at this on Twitter has seen the complete and utter scene of devastation my desk has become to do this.
I've barely got space on my chaotic desk to put my work laptop. Never mind that kind of a setup.
Right, let's press T and see. Oh, we're 1 minute behind schedule. That's not a gold star.
That's nothing.
So, here we go. It's not a lot to do.
We've not gone through any red signals yet, so we're doing well.
No, all our signals are up, and we don't need to stop. We're doing
Except
okay.
at the very end.
Oh,
As
yeah.
we've already had foreshadowed by the warning message, by the error message that you crashed into Brighton.
Yes. And look at this. We've got some kind of... It's interesting because they've got a bit of colour at the top of the screen here. And is that a bit of mode splitting? I'm looking at the size of the pixels. And I think it might be. There might be some kind of mode split thing going there at the top. I'm not sure about quite how the BBC works as opposed to the CPC where I can look at a screen and go, yeah, they've split the mode there. We've got the kind of colour up there, and then this kind of middle section is just 2 colours, but it might just be 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 5 colours on screen. 6. But only 2 in the main action area.
Specky has the revolutionary graphics technique of having a red fire as well.
Yes, I noted that last night when I was playing it. It's kind of why if they haven't done that on the B, then they must be doing something with the modes here. Because why wouldn't you? You don't have any attribute problems or anything like that. You could even colour those signals on the left-hand side. So East Croydon, where Sarah Jane Smith comes from.
Not anymore, she doesn't.
Not anymore. The fictional Sarah Jane Smith. So we go through there. Oh, it did a whistle. The computer.
So East Croydon's sort of a bit of a major junction type station. You can sort of get trains to London Bridge or London Victoria or all over the place. Stuff comes into and out of East Croydon. It's one of the main places to change on this line.
So I'm just
train fact fans.
I'm
assuming Gatwick is Gatwick Racecourse in this.
Yeah, there would be no because the airport in those days would have been at Croydon before they moved it out to Gatwick. So yeah,
I'll stop trying to foresee what's happening because it'll come up in a minute anyway. Now we're through Croydon.
I'll press T and see where we are. We hit Croydon at 17 minutes. Our next is at 24. We're back on track. So, because the record there's a game on here as well. You can do it in the record 40 minutes. You've got to try and beat the
48,
record.
I believe.
48.
Which I beat on Train Sim before, and I was having my run, but that's probably not really representative of anything because it's Train Simulator. I think the speed limits were probably a lot higher on the modern route, so I could just rag it with the steam engine. Probably it's about 20 or 30 miles per hour higher than its supposed design speed.
If I press 3, it's telling me my steam needs to be thicker. That's not the word. So I've turned the cut-off
darker, denser.
To make it denser, to turn the cut-off down or the cut-off up.
The cut-off doesn't really have any effect on your steam coming out the top. That's the fire doors and the blowers.
Right. So I can blame
if you shut those, that cuts off some air and it's, yeah. The thing is, the more cut-off you're using, the more steam you're using, so the steam pressure goes down, so the fireman has to shovel more coal in and inject more water in. So that's where the efficiency thing comes in. Your fireman has to work harder if you're doing it wrong. Right,
that's okay. It's the computer. We are going up a hill. I've got the cut-off on halfway. Regulator is full open. We don't need to worry about that till we start getting near to Brighton. Unless we start speeding. But we seem to be a constant. We're getting slightly faster, and we are going uphill. So it might be worth watching on the way down, because I don't know how fast these things are supposed to go.
Oh, we'll soon find out when it gets to the other side of the hill.
We got. I look at the instructions here. We've got control of the brakes. It's a vacuum brake.
So that'll be our fault.
That's our fault. And blower, injector, fire door, and damper are the computer. Yep. So this is coals to north.
Damper. That's it. Your damper's the other mechanism to change how much air comes in through the bottom of the fire and through the train.
So this is quite, you could be doing quite a lot. I'm sitting here just occasionally touching the cut-off and trying to keep an eye on the speed, but actually you could be playing this on a more advanced level and having to stop. And there's also is it going to whistle as it goes through here?
When you're driving it on sort of full difficulty, you are doing the job of 2 people. Now, one of those people is watching the line and looking what's coming up, any hazards coming up, where you are, and what to do with the train controls for that. The other one's working out what's going on with the fire, what's going on with the temperature, the pressure, and shoveling a heck of a lot of coal in at the same time as well. So you're sort of doing 2 people's jobs. Even if you're not doing the manual physical shoveling of the coal, you're having to concentrate on a lot of things at once that would normally be split between 2 people. So it's a bit of a challenge.
Oh, it whistled, and we've got a big. This is another one of the
Tunnel.
big landmarks. It's the Cane Hill Tunnel.
I wonder how. We'll see when we get towards Brighton, but there's a tunnel near Brighton. It's got all impressive, like castle turrets on it and stuff and decorations. So we'll see what that looks like when we get there. Should be interesting.
Oh, it's changed the sound. The sound's changed. They've actually
Wow,
coded that in.
Just like Train Simulator.
This is like Stun Runner running on the Spectrum or Amstrad. About the same speed, about the same graphics. I should review that one time. That's a terrible conversion. And I bought it as well. And I knew how bad it was. It was that kind of week when buying the budget games. Quarry Tunnel. Assume there's a quarry. So we're outside the M25. Must be getting close to where the M25 is today.
Yeah, let me just have a look what Quarry Tunnel is. Yeah, you're right. Just after Quarry Tunnel, the M23 and the M25 cross.
Aha.
The M23 goes over, the M25 goes under.
Aha.
But obviously not in 1930. 60 miles an hour, nice. But I think we are going to come off the rails at this 50 mile an hour limit.
I'm going to take the regulator back.
I'm cautious. You have to take the regulator back and put the brake on for a bit. I think it is just after the tunnel for about half a mile, and then it's fine. It goes back to being straight.
I've got the brake on half and the regulator off.
Okay. We're still going downhill, so we can just whiz the brake off and bang the regulator back on full to get us back up to speed. Shouldn't take too much to get it going again.
Salfords.
We've just passed through Earlswood, so that's the end of that speed limit. So just brakes off, regulator on full. Let's go.
All right. Oh, church! Church! We got scenery. We got scenery. There's a church on the left.
We managed to break down to 50 mile an hour by the end of the speed limit when we didn't need to be doing 50 mile an hour anymore, or something. I don't know. I'll put that more clearly when you've edited it, I'm sure.
Well, that's marvellous. I mean, it's a house and a church.
It's more than most places get. Obviously, this is a place of affection for the creators of the game.
I'm just going to cut that regulator back just a little bit. Gatwick Racecourse, here we are.
There we go. Gatwick Racecourse.
Look, 65 is quite a decent speed for an elderly. Well, not an elderly steam train, but...
we could do more. Get that regulator open. Come on.
It's fully open.
Let's get to 100.
Oh, I think there is an error message. You get these things. I remember on the Spectrum running points.
The wheels have fallen over. You lose.
It's something like that.
Train simulation is all about sitting there, zoning out and missing a red signal because you've got kind of bored and your attention has wandered elsewhere. Or is that just me? And is that why I'm not a train driver?
Over a bridge we just went, and we're still going uphill again. Gradient 264. I was looking at some of the things that you got options. We're on the training run, and there's an easy run with speed limits non-stop, which we're not doing, although we try to adhere to it. Stopping and signalling, run, heavy stopping train with a difficult load. I don't know what that is. Elephants, something that moves around a lot. I don't know.
The annual seaside outing in the Michael Portillo fan club.
That's it.
There's just so many coaches on there, it's difficult to stop it.
We've got a record-breaking run, and then a Southern Belle non-stop run, and then a problem run. So something's going to go wrong during the run. So we're going quite fast. I'm 70 okay?
70's fine.
70's fine. We've got this far. We're going to get to Brighton. We're going to stop. Because when I did a test run of this a few months ago, I got to Brighton and then stopped the thing dead outside the station, got it going again, then crashed into the buffers. So, but it was brilliant apart from that.
If I'm here, it's highly likely that we'll do something bad outside of Brighton Station and fail.
Because there's this misapprehension that ChinnyVision is completely unprepared. Actually, no, it's not. It's kind of, things are tested out beforehand.
I got to say, I can see by the state of your desk in front of you at the moment that there has been some preparation for this.
Yeah, I got his capture. I mean, people do this on emulation. Where's the fun in that? I've got a BBC micro getting warmer and warmer in front of me. Microphone bounced off the top, capture stuff on the left, mixing desk on the right, you viewing the Mac screen through Skype. This is fine. This is exactly what we will. We're going downhill again. I might set the regulator off.
Get some more speed up then. What are you doing? Coming off the regulator. Come on, full speed ahead.
I'm cowardly.
We're never going to beat the record at this rate.
I don't think we are. Where's our timetable? We're doing quite well. We're going to hit, if we hit Balcom at 43. So here we are. So we're ahead of time. We're doing quite well, I think.
In fairness, it'll probably save some fuel if you do come off the regulator, and we're still going at 74, so it'll be fine as we razz downhill.
Just putting the brake on just a tad because I'm a coward.
Oh, come on. Just let it coast down the hill. It's fine.
We're doing okay. We're ahead of schedule. Get it down to 70. And then it's quite... you have to press shift with the original key to turn it back. Let's go back. So if you want to turn the brake on, you press V and keep on stabbing at that, and you hold down shift and V to take it back again, which is quite nice. You don't have to remember two keys. And it also tells you on the screen there, next to each control, vacuum brake is V, cut off is C, nothing on there for R, but you've got the keys there, which is nice for these games we're trying to desperately remember. Yeah, like
there are a lot of keys to remember for this one.
Like Elite, we've got to print something out to tell you what all the keys are.
Need an overlay. One thing I will say is the vacuum brake or the brake is quite simplified in that they just sort of say it's on or off kind of thing, it's on 10%, it's on whatever. On Train Simulator, it's much more accurately simulated in that you set it at a pressure level, and the differences in the pressure level affect the amount of braking you have. But obviously, that was probably a leap too far for getting the information onto the screen and running that in the simulation along with the 3D and everything else. So I'll let them off with their revolutionary 1985 Train Simulator, not completely simulating vacuum braking as well. I'll allow it.
Because we get more... Actually, to be fair, you get quite a better view on here than you do on a real steam train as well, because you have to lean out the side to see anything. All you've got in front of you is this massive thing.
I mean, people are complaining about the scenery, but if it was fully realistic, most of the screen would be the train, and you wouldn't really see much of the scenery. The camera sort of... It's like, I suppose, you're sort of sitting on top of a tender on a chair, this view.
10 miles. 10 miles
to go. 10 miles of... We've not used a lot of coal recently because it's been mostly downhill and stuff, so we might be all right.
I've kept my regulator as well. I've got to have taken it.
Yeah.
So
the regulator's down, the cut-off's back, so we shouldn't be using that much steam. We should be all right.
It's going to be tight. We've got to go build up... If this was a professional YouTube channel, we'd have to build up some Jeopardy and give it a clickbait title. I like steam trains are terrible. Steam trains suck. All steam train enthusiasts are idiots, or something like that. And then we'd have to build in Jeopardy by pretending we're going to run out. Like ice road truckers, will they fall through the ice? Will they fall through the ice? Well, no. But the ice is wafer thin. Here's a photo. Here's some video we took of the truck going over the ice from underneath. 8.5 miles to Brighton, and we're going very fast. And at which point do we decide we need to slow down as well? Do you know how quickly these things slow down? I think that's my problem last time. I slowed down.
It'd probably be all right on the training run. Should be right.
Okay. Well, no,
you won't.
You do,
but
have
it doesn't matter.
It says you can touch the buffers no faster than walking speed. It's very specific in the.
3 miles an hour is your bottom limit for that, then.
So we'll all end up in the sea.
No, you'll just get a letter of complaint written to the chairman and fired.
Or
your career as a train driver will be cut short.
A fiery death with the like that photo of that steam train going through that station somewhere where it's crashed through the buffers through the wall out into the street.
Oh, you'd be fine. You and the fireman could probably jump clear in time.
I'll open that regulator up for this hill. It's 7¼ miles off Brighton. The game's still telling me all aboard.
Through Hassocks.
Hassocks with the windmills. Hassocks. I went to visit a bee farm in Hassocks once.
A bee farm.
A bee farm. Is that what they call them? I think it is.
Apiary.
That's it. And got the windmills at Hassocks. I don't think they're going to... Well, perhaps they will be modelled here.
No, this is a fancy tunnel, isn't it? Clayton Tunnel. He said to himself, because I don't expect confirmation from you, Chinny.
Well, we've got something going on here. Look at this.
Yeah, look at it. Look at it. Frame rate's dropping through the floor.
Behold the glory of... Oh, the castle.
Wow.
Well,
they did do it as well. And it shows. There we go. That's better now. It's out of shot again. Crikey. Oh, that is impressive. I'm impressed by that.
It's probably...
They could have just slapped the normal tumble port on, but they knew they wouldn't get away with it.
Let's check our timetable as well, where we are.
Where? 3 minutes ahead still.
Hassocks, 50 miles. Okay, so we're doing well. Patcham Tunnel. 4¾ miles. Now, what should I be doing with the cut-off towards the station? Cutting it off completely?
No, well, I mean, if you cut it off completely, like I say, it's like putting the car into neutral, so
okay,
you just get no power. So if you're going to cut it off, then turn the regulator off as well, because there's no point having it on.
Okay, so we're at 4. I'm starting to think about these things now. It's at that stage where you're starting to get restless on the train and you want to be off first. You're starting to stand up and get your bags because you don't want to get caught up. You know, it's like
the most important thing is the brakes for stopping.
Yes. So
don't slam them on too hard.
No,
because the passengers will complain.
We're at 3¾ I think we should probably start thinking about.
I reckon you should get to about a mile and start thinking about it. 3¼ is a bit far.
I'm gonna say one. Let's settle on 1.5 because I don't know how fast this thing stops. Because I've not had to do that yet. It's kind of like we've learned how to drive the train, kind of. We haven't learned how to stop the train. Right, this is the last tunnel. I've eased back on the regulators. That's just off on nothing.
You can take it off completely, I think.
Yeah, it's off completely.
Yeah. So we're going to go through Preston Park. Probably start thinking about braking once we're through there, because Brighton's right on the horizon after Preston Park, isn't it? So.
Oh, you said braking, so I pressed the brake key, so I'll ease off of it.
Oh, it don't matter.
Oh yeah, I'm going to bring it on slowly.
Yeah. Just let it cruise down to a halt. Or a slow speed, and then a halt when we get to the station.
We need to crawl.
We've got time.
We've got time. We've got to crawl into that station. Give our passengers a nice smooth ride. 1.5 miles. We're doing 50 miles an hour. We're downhill as well all the way. It makes it easy.
Yep.
So here we are, Preston Park. 46 miles an hour. I'm going to take that brake off a second and cruise in at
I'm going
40.
to say cruise at about 30 when you start getting towards the station. We've got rid of the worst of the speed.
It's slowing down now.
I think the limit's probably around 40 around here, anyway, from what I recall on Train Simulator, because it gets a bit twisty. But you can see, basically, I think we've run out of gradient, haven't we, now, at the end?
Yeah, it should be flat.
That's the last mile, so... There's a depot on the right.
Just giving the regulator just 1 notch.
It's
just 3/4 of a mile.
You might need to give it a bit more cut off at this speed if you want the regulator to do anything.
So I'll make sure I don't come to a crashing halt like before. I want to get in there with...
Like showing 1/4 of a mile, is it, into Brighton?
Half a mile.
3/4 mile, half a mile. So I'd start thinking about slowing down a bit more. Just in case the brakes are terrible on this thing.
1 notch on the brakes. slowing down relatively coming in. That's Brighton Station. I've seen Brighton Station.
Yeah, I'd give it a bit more.
Here we go.
Cruising about 10 or something, and then we can just slap it on when we get in the platform.
Right, we're going a decent speed at the moment. 12.
Ooh, that sounded very laboured now, and it's not really, because the regulator's not even on.
The regulator's on 1.
It shouldn't be on at all if we're stopping.
Okay. I don't want to come to... because we're slowing down still, so...
Yeah, just let it roll for a bit with the brake off and then regulator off.
Okay, regulator off. Cut off is on a halfway. 8. We're slowing down 8.
It should coast a bit, lose a little bit of speed on its own anyway, if it's any good at all, this simulation.
7. Six. I'm going to have to give it something.
Sounds like me when I'm having an asthma attack.
Yeah, it needs... the simulation's very good. It's going to need more cut off and more...
Yeah, give it full cut off if we're going to try and move at this speed.
Full cut off, regulator on halfway. Yeah.
Yep. There we go. Just get it back up to like 10 and then we'll...
Yeah. And then I'm
got a lot of time to think between frames now because things are getting complicated.
Yeah. Now I'm going to turn it off. I mean, the simulation on this is going to be basic as basic gets.
Like I say, it's really not bad at all for a steam engine simulator, considering the processing power on offer. If it's not as complicated as it looks, they've done a good job of making it look more complicated than it is in terms of what's running in the background.
Right, so as it comes to this kind of representation of Brighton Station, it reminds me of a Mercenary. We start getting graphics like this. We're coming in. Nice.
Reminds me of a lovely barn with a station inside it.
6 miles an hour. Come on, get past the end of the platform. 5 miles an hour. Oh, it's really chugging now. I'm going to need more, aren't I? I'm not going to get to the end.
Well, if you take the brake off, I think we're basically at that walking pace speed now.
The brake's
so we can get away with hitting the buffers at this speed. So just take the brake off and roll for a bit.
The brake's not on. I've been slowing it down. Yeah.
Your cut-off's completely off, isn't it, there?
Yeah.
Or is that completely on? Okay, cool.
I've stopped completely.
It's still just very slowly, less than a mile per hour.
I'm just having to get it a bit of welly. Game over. Press A.
Arrival at Brighton! Hooray! Victory!
Right. Oh, right, okay.
Pass!
So we've got safety, 95%. Nobody died.
Nice.
Timekeeping, 70%. Economy, 88%.
Did you get penalised for being a minute early here or being early through the stations?
Not on this
level.
Or
was it for being late leaving?
I think you get penalised for poor timekeeping on other levels. I'm not sure. I might have been penalised for... I suppose it looks at where we were and how close we were. We came in pretty much on time, although that was due to me messing up close to the end. You can see we were 3 minutes ahead at Hassocks. Pretty much 3 minutes. Yeah, we really got up at Earlswood, that downhill section. We got a really good lead up.
Yeah, I mean it was fine though. I mean coming in a minute before schedule is fine. You know, we took the time to safely bring the train into the platform, not smash into the buffers, and that's why we've got 95% safety. We were very cautious. We did not want to murder Michael Portillo.
So, Mr PSB, we have played Southern Belle, and what do you make of it as somebody who plays modern train simulator games properly?
Well, I mean, I think as I said before, well, properly is probably a very strong way to put it. I think, as I said earlier on, it was like it's quite an impressive simulator. It's doing all the main things. The only thing it's maybe missing is full simulation of the vacuum braking, but what it's got is pretty impressive. You've got your driver simulation, regulator cut off. You've got your fireman simulation, running the ejectors, building up the fire mass, and the sort of fire temperature and all that being simulated. So it's a pretty impressive simulation. And the fact that they've then come along on top of that simulation and plonked in 3D graphics. I mean, yes, they're not the fastest 3D graphics in the world, but they give you a good enough representation of going through stations and going along the tracks. So, I like it. It's pretty impressive piece of software for the time.
And I've just discovered a key called events that you press. It's told us what we got marked down on. We got marked down on a poor stop at Brighton. So there you go. It was the stopping, not being.
I think we stopped short, didn't we? So.
Yeah, it didn't kind of cruise in. We kind of. Got there nearly, but better than last time I did it. I think it's a pretty impressive game. There's not, as we discussed, there's not much else until you start to get to Microsoft Train Simulator on the 8-bits or 16-bits. So these two games, Southern Belle and Evening Star, stand out on their own. No, the frame rate isn't the fastest thing in the world. Yes, it's a little bit of work to get in. You've got to understand how the train works and read those instructions. And once you get moving and you start doing it, I can see you having a lot of fun, especially with the harder difficulty levels. Today we've run on the easiest difficulty level. We didn't do the fireman, but you could really get into this, and you could start. I could see myself doing this again, stopping at the stations, then perhaps doing some of the problem runs and the more difficult runs as well. With the fire stuff on, yes, it's unforgiving because you can run out of coal and all the rest of it. But for the time, and considering a lot of people got this free with Amstrad Action or your Sinclair in the early 90s, is not a bad game. So thanks to Mr PSB for joining me today on ChinnyVision. Do check out Swery Train Sim. It is over 18s, live on a Saturday night, or there's pre-recorded videos on his channel. I'll link those below in the description.